First, though, pro-democracy protesters in Hong Kong have been staging an overnight demonstration calling for the Chinese government to let them have free and fair elections. Tom Grundy is a journalist and blogger in Hong Kong. Tom, what's been going on? What's the background to this story?
Well, there's a long-running pro-democracy movement here in Hong Kong. On July 1st, there was a record turnout to the annual pro-democracy march where there were 500 arrests later on, but 500,000 actually turned out to that. And yesterday, it was announced the actual start of an era of civil disobedience, which was threatened to happen should Beijing not budge on the topic of universal suffrage. But there were, tears, some angry scenes last night. And as you said, some students from a movement called Scholarism stayed overnight, and they'll be following around the Chinese delegation as they're in town. But yeah, hundreds of people holding up lights, and democracy icon Martin Lee got a big cheer when he said no to Beijing.
This political issue sounds like it's something of a hangover from the British handing over Hong Kong to the Chinese.
Yeah, John Major actually said in 1996 that Britain would leap to Hong Kong's defence if the joint agreement was, encroached upon or violated by China. But yes, this all harks back to its handover in 1997. Hong Kong is meant to have a very high degree of autonomy and being a roadmap to full universal suffrage, one person, one vote. But under this suggested system, there will be a nominating committee. They will choose 3 candidates, if they're lucky, maybe 2. And then people can vote on them. And it's very likely this nominating committee will be made up of pro-Beijing figures. So people are calling it fake democracy. And after all of this time, constant redefinitions of the phrase universal suffrage, people are getting very frustrated. And it's an all-time low, the relationship now with Beijing.
Has Beijing responded to the pro-democracy demonstrators and what they want?
Well, we don't know. It's only been announced yesterday that they will take this action, but, they're citing Martin Luther King, Mandela, Gandhi. You can see how this may alarm China. There's been at least one official used the word bloodshed and concerns about some military hardware entering Hong Kong, but no evidence that it's abnormal. There is a big police presence. Last night, 5,000 officers were deployed, but Hong Kong has a very rich history of peaceful demonstration, so there's no evidence, I think, of any trouble. And the plan is to have a big sit-in in the central business district in an attempt to shut it down and draw some attention to the cause.
And the people in Hong Kong might not feel as if they have the freedom to elect whoever they want as much as they should do. But compared to the mainland China, they do have a lot of autonomy in Hong Kong, not least because the province is something of a cash cow for Beijing. I just wonder whether the Chinese people in Hong Kong see themselves as separate from Chinese people on the mainland.
There is an increasing Hong Kong identity where people wish to differentiate themselves from the mainland, if only because of these political reasons. But you're right, certainly at the handover, China didn't want to kill the goose that lays the golden egg. And I think nowadays, though, its relevance is waning somewhat with the rise of Shanghai and other financial centers. But it's probably mostly thinking about Xinjiang, Taiwan, Tibet and other troublesome provinces, and not wanting to inspire any supposed trouble there. But yes, it's meant to be autonomous. It's an important financial centre still, and the world is watching Hong Kong. So China will have to tread a little bit more carefully here than it would, on the mainland.
Tom, thanks very much. Tom Grundy, there, journalist in Hong Kong.